7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, Areg. How
Hi,
are you?
hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
Good, excellent. So I believe today we're going to be talking about the Office File API. We're going to be talking about how to make that integration with Blazor. So I think we can just head right into this task.
All right, let's jump into it.
Okay, so for starters, I guess I should sort of preface this by saying that if you go through our documentation and our demos, you'll notice our demos pages, we have something called Office File API. And sometimes it throws people for a loop because people are usually used to and accustomed to us building UI controls like grids and editors and pivot tables and those sorts of things. But actually, Office File API is a little bit outside of our usual wheelhouse in that you could use Office File API anywhere. This particular set of examples is built in, I believe, ASP.NET MVC, and basically it's showcasing how to do document conversions, how to make changes to document types like PDFs and RTFs. But the point is that you could actually leverage Office File API in a desktop app or in a ASP.NET app, or dare I say it, in a Blazor app. And that's what I hope we can get to today. So I actually went ahead and kind of wanted to start from scratch. Let's assume you kind of have like a empty folder and you have some sort of uh, document that you want to actually play around with. Here it's basically my standard kind of document, which is I need to sign documents once they become PDFs. So I have a letter here that it's kind of very typical in our sort of type documents, and then apply some sort of certificate-based signature and also have some sort of visual signature as well. So that's kind of something that was a challenge in years past, having the visual signature show up on the PDF. But I've already gone ahead and written the letter basically for ABC Tech, which is a fake company, obviously, and I'm authorizing them as our reseller, our official reseller. It's exciting stuff. But this is
Very.
a doc file with a header and a footer, so it has our company letterhead and everything on it. So this, for starters, is a doc file. So usually you're not going to be dealing with doc files. So let's go ahead and actually save it as a PDF for starters. So I'll go ahead and point this to PDF, and I should also probably mention that I'm using Office on Mac OS. So everything we do today is going to be catered towards a cross-platform audience. So, and I don't think I
Nice.
have to save the current date, doesn't matter. But basically now I have this PDF file and I can open it in Mac OS Preview, and it's not too exciting. I really do want a signature here, and I want some sort of digital certificate attached to that signature. But the point being is that at this point, we can use Office File API to actually play around with this file, with this PDF, and apply that signature. So I guess for starters, let's go ahead and open Terminal and get started here. So I should probably mention a few things about my machine. You have to have our sources, our NuGet feed on your machine somewhere in some form. If you're using Windows, if you run our installer once, you already do have a feed to our NuGet source, and so you don't really have to worry about that. If you're using Mac OS, you do have to manually add the NuGet source using the .NET NuGet, I believe, add source command. But if I go ahead and list my sources, you'll see that not only do I have DevExpress and the free NuGet.org feed, I've also gone ahead and add something called a local NuGet feed. I've done it for myself just for stability purposes. I don't always have an internet connection. That's why I've added this third source. But basically, you definitely do want one of these two or three. So you want a direct feed to our NuGet, or you want something that basically is a local version of what I have. So, and just so if you're curious, if you go to NuGet.devexpress.com, and I'm not going to hopefully scroll down too far so you don't get my feed URL off the stream, but it's fine. It's not really an issue. But in any case, I can I'll regenerate a new feed URL, so it doesn't really matter. But basically, this is your kind of ticket to getting everything on NuGet that you have a licensed access to. And there's, I guess, no real point to copying this from me because I'm just gonna go in and regenerate this API key later once we're off the recording. So
For security
anyway,
purposes.
yeah, for security purposes. I mean, it's not really insecure. It's just that, you know, you don't want to be that guy who's using our stuff without a license. That's very not cool. So I also wanted to mention another caveat about what we're doing today, and it's that since we're doing it on cross-platform and not on Windows, as of .NET 6, there was a breaking change to system.drawing, and basically we implemented a new drawing engine, and you do need to use that drawing engine if you're going to be using cross-platform environments. So if you're using Linux or if you're using Mac OS, you have to be using this engine, the Skia engine. So basically, this is an extra NuGet package reference you're going to be adding if you're using Linux or Mac OS that you otherwise would not be. And I'm pointing this out because if you have a problem with a Docker container, or if you have a problem with a Mac environment where you didn't have that problem in Windows, and you're getting strange errors about system drawing not being available and versions of Mono being off, this is what it is. You have to make sure you do include this. Again, this is not a breaking change we introduced. This is just something that .NET 6 and higher, the warning, I believe, then became an error. And the error is that, hey, stop, you don't use system drawing in these environments. Use an alternate engine. And for those that have been using cross-platform all these years, they know that it's kind of been a painful process of having a lot of third-party libraries you do need to install if you're going about the process of using the legacy system drawing. So this is actually a better world, but it is a slightly different drawing engine.
Okay.
In any case, I wanted to just point that out in that this is a little bit different than Windows. So I guess since we have a particular task and we have an authorization file now, we kind of want to sign this authorization in PDF. So I can go ahead and let's take a look at what I have available to me. I think that what we want to do is probably look for some sort of console-based task runner. So I'm going to go ahead and look for, lo and behold, looks like we have something called console. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new console app and point this to, let's say, let's call it PDF Signer. So I'll call this folder PDF Signer, and I will go ahead and go into this folder once I've gone in and created it. So it looks like I am now in this PDF Signer folder, and I have this top level program where, as you could probably guess, all it's going to be doing is telling us hello world. Now actually this at this point we do want to go ahead and start doing some interesting things. We specifically want to pull in one of our classes called PDF Document Processor. And if you go to our documentation, and it's our wonderful documentation, it's a great resource. If I go into the Office File API, which is down here, and I look for something called PDF Document Processor, and it's this, and I actually do want to get this into my project because I'm going to be using this to actually load the PDF file into memory and then signing it and then saving it back again as a signed version. And the workflow here is kind of important. That's why I kind of wanted to dive into kind of how are you going to pull in PDF Document Processor into this project, especially given that we're doing this on Mac OS. How does it work? So the idea is that if you need a type, like we need the type PDF Document Processor, you're going to have to basically either manually add the assembly references for DevExpress docs. This is like if you're a Windows user, or if you're thinking about this cross-platform, you can just add this particular NuGet package. So you do need this NuGet package, and if you pick .NET CLI, it will tell you this is the syntax to go ahead and add, and you usually don't have to specify the source because it's already set up for you. So let's go ahead and I guess first see what what I have in this particular project. So I'm going to go ahead and list the packages just to make sure, as a sanity check, that I don't have any packages installed, which is kind of what I do want to hear. And I'm going to go ahead and, what was it called again? DevExpress document processor. So it's the DevExpress document processor. And the other thing worth noting as well is I like to live life on the edge. So we are going to be releasing 23.2 shortly, in a few short weeks. So stay tuned. There's already early access preview of 23.2 for universal subscribers. But 23.2 is not officially released yet. But if you do want to use those alpha builds and those later beta builds, we're going to be having a beta later this month. You'll want to include the tag for pre-release. So I'm not going to be using 23.1 today. I'm going to be using 23.2. So living life on the edge here with the pre-release.
Yes, really living life on the edge.
Yeah. But yeah, actually, I mean, if you want to renew your subscription, or if you want to upgrade, just write to us, let us know. We'll be happy to set you up. And I always do forget the syntax for adding packages, and I botched it for the millionth time. It's actually .NET add package. And again, the package is DevExpress document processor. So we could use PDF document processor. It's always a mouthful because we have a rich edit document server and we have PDF document processor. I'm not really sure what makes a server and what makes a processor.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah, it is. So let me go ahead and list the packages. We've, like I said, just installed the document processor package, so it should be listed, and it should be 23.2. And like I said, it is the word alpha should be scary, and it is scary. We are literally, hopefully this never goes into production. This is just, if you want the latest bits, we have them now, which is great. And actually what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pull this into my project. So let's go ahead and use our PDF document processor. So let's call it document processor, and let's also, while I'm at it, go ahead and make sure that I'm using the namespace that we expect this to be in, which is DevExpress PDF. And let's also go ahead and speed this up a bit, and I'll just go ahead and take this line, and this is the expression we're going to be using, and we want to dispose this. And let's go ahead and bring in as well the other DevExpress namespaces we're going to be using throughout. We're going to be drawing, so I expect that if we don't include the DevExpress drawing, we're going to run into later problems anyway. And let's go ahead and actually use this document processor to load our file. And it looks like it's one directory above us, so I probably want to point this there. So let's go ahead and let me go into our File Explorer, and let's pull out the name of this. So here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and get the file name so we can load this file. And here we go. Authorization is all it's called. I don't trust myself with typos, so I've gone ahead and copy pasted it. And I want to actually go ahead and load the document at this point. So this is before we've actually done the signing. And I'm not getting IntelliSense, so let me go ahead and restore the project too while I'm at it. So .NET restore. I don't want to run it right now, but and I'm going to go ahead and also point to this file. Let's go ahead and copy what we need and get this in. Let's I should also say, since we're pointing this to the directory above us, I do want to find the file. So if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to actually navigate to an actual file. And hopefully I'm not actually going to be encountering any real issues by doing this. And then I want to go ahead and maybe save the file in a different location with a different name. So I'm going to go ahead document, save document at this point. So let's go ahead and point this to the current directory, and we can do some string interpolation again, and point this to the current directory, and call this copied. Let's do that. And just to make sure it's a sanity check that everything works fine and we're not missing any NuGet packages. So let's do a .NET run. And these are all top level statements. So we should probably get console hello world, and then we should get our little run to happen without any issue. So let's take a look.
Hey, Areg.
Yeah.
We've had a couple people join us. Can you just really briefly state what you're doing?
Yeah, so what I'm going ahead and doing is I have a file called authorization.pdf. It's a letter, and I want to go ahead and sign that letter. So this is the letter, and I want to put a visual signature on the PDF right here. And it's going to be based on a file that I have a signature in. And it's also going to sign the PDF file with a certificate. So this is a little bit more fancy than just stamping the document. It's actually applying a legitimate signature. The point is we're going to do this all cross-platform without relying on it being a Windows box, but we're going to be using DevExpress tools to do all of it. Cool. And then once we get this workflow set up, we're going to move this to Blazor and use some of our UI controls to accomplish that. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that it actually threw up an error, which is what I mentioned we're going to have to also take into account as a caveat, which is that the drawing engine, when you're not on Windows environments, is not allowed to be system drawing. So we try to use this cross-platform drawing engine called Skia. Basically, I didn't add the NuGet package for it yet, so it should not actually be able to run. So if I go ahead and list the packages that are installed, you'll see that the document processor is installed, but nothing else. So that's what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and install the package where we have our alternate drawing engine, so that we can actually find those assemblies as we need them. So it's DevExpress drawing.skia, and this is something you're going to encounter every time, not every time, but without a doubt, it's something that you have to take into account on Linux and on macOS. So it's something that's optional on Windows. You could opt into this drawing engine if you'd like, but it's not required. But yeah, if you're doing things like loads where you're generating documents in a server environment where that server environment is not Windows, or if you have Docker containers and images and things like that, and yeah, in that case, you definitely do want to use Skia, or otherwise you're going to just have crashes. And again, I'm also including this flag called pre-release because I do want all the package versions to match up, because if I don't, I'll have to remove the package and add it again. Okay, so let's go ahead and add this required package for actually drawing and saving. So let's go ahead and now .NET run inside here. And so it actually printed this little console message that it was expecting. And let's go ahead and look in our PDF signer, and we have basically the same document. It's just renamed, authorization copied, and there's no real change to this document. They're basically identical. It's not too exciting there. We actually do need to make some changes. We have to actually have something to sign with. And actually, if I go ahead and point this, at this point, we do need to get talking about how your system is going to be generating certificate signing requests and how you're going to be handling that. So it's kind of a pain to do it from command line in Windows, and at this point, if you're following along in Windows, I recommend you do this in WSL because it's a little bit of a saner environment for handling these sorts of things. But basically, we're going to be relying on OpenSSL, and it has a few different types of commands specifically. The first thing we're going to want to start off with is we're going to want to generate a signing key, and we're going to use that to sign our signatures today. So if I go ahead and pass in this command type and getting a special a private key that's going to be I believe 2048 bytes. I get this private key, and I need it to be a file. So I'm going to go ahead and export this to a particular file. And well, maybe I'll even call it key temp. So my temp key, and I now have a temp key where it's basically results here. And the other thing is, if you're actually doing this in an actual environment where you want this key to be used, the one important thing to remember is that you don't want anyone to be able to access this key other than yourself. So if you look at the system, the file permissions here, there's a few mistakes in that it's readable by other people, which is a problem because it's a private key for a reason. So we actually do need to go ahead and set the file access permissions for the group and for everyone else to basically be none. And for us, it could just be read. We don't need to write. So that means 400 is what you set on chmod. And we can go ahead and change that. And this is just an important note if you're ever going to be using this key in a real situation that really should not be readable by anyone else or accessible. And we want to get a cert file out of this particular private key. So this is, again, this is something you can find in documentation for OpenSSL. If you look at the man page and you search for, I believe, this command, it's called REQ. It's a certificate signing request. So there are different types of commands that we can make. And if I scroll up, you'll see like a lot of them. But basically, the command we're going to be making today to open SSL is called REQ, and it's a little particularism about this type of command line tool. And we're going to be building a new certificate file, a new cert file, and these are just by trial and error. I kind of found all these flags. So, and for my own convenience, I'll just make this valid for signing purposes for a year, and I'll point this to the one certificate I have. I believe it's key temp, and I'll get my certificate file. So I'll call this my temp cert. And at this point, I should have at this point, I get like a little questionnaire about, well, tell me about your certificate, tell me about yourself, and what's going to show up on the signature. I'm going to go ahead and fill that out right now. And this is something that if you had the .NET API for OpenSSL configuration, you could pass these in yourself, but I never really bothered with that. So I'm happy to do it from command line, since you don't really do this too often. And I think I'm going to go ahead and call my organization DevExpress Inc. And let's call this Client Services. It's the team and common name, or my name. My name is what I'll use my common name. And point this to where I can be contacted. And these are all basically things that are visible on the signature once I sign the signature. Because like I said, it's not just going to be a visual SIG that we're going to attach. It's going to be actually a certificate as well.
And now everyone knows where to contact you.
Yeah, now everyone knows. The jig is up.
The jig is up.
Yeah. The other thing that I need is I need a PFX file, because that's going to be expected to handle the signature. So I need a cert file and I need a PFX file to actually do this. The PFX file is the actual thing that when the rubber meets the road, I do need to actually do the signature. And again, if I go into documentation of this command, if I look for this this command name, and forgive the weird syntax, it's if you're on Mac OS, the regular expression looks a little different. If you're on other systems, it looks a little different again, but basically this is the command I need to pass in because this is the type of PFX file I'm kind of expecting in the rest of my code. So I'm going to go ahead and also pass that in as well. And I'm going to make this a temp as well because I'm not really going to be using this approach too much. And I do need the key as well. So it's the temp key, I believe. And I believe I have the cert already. Yeah, I have a temp cert. So I believe that once I do that, I should have a PFX file. Invalid command. What did I mistype? Let's go open SSL. Ah, I know. So the command PKCS, enter export key. And I already have like a password that, don't get the wrong ID, I don't use this password in other places, but just for the sake of having a non-empty value, I have decided on something that it'll be in clear text later when we're using it, but it's a small little string, and I'm just going to be requiring this later. And now I actually do have, if I look into what I'm looking at, I have a PFX file, a PFX underscore temp, and actually these steps are all things that I would do in a makefile if I was doing this, you know, on a daily basis, or if I was wanting to never remember what these commands are. So I just stick these in a makefile and I run the make command. You have to run it with pseudo privileges, I think, to run these commands properly. But yeah, it should work fine. Anyway, so what I want to go ahead and do is I want to finish this workflow that we have, so we can kind of think about moving this elsewhere. And kind of a lot of this is trial and error, so I'm just gonna skip the chase and talk about some of the things that I like doing with documents that we don't really have to berate the point of. So one thing that you can do with documents is, like, if you have, let's say, a multi-page document, you might want to go ahead and remove everything but the title page. So I have a gigantic PDF as probably a good example of this. This PowerShell cookbook, which I'm guessing is like very, very long. I'm not sure how I found it.
Cookbook?
Well, it's for command line statements on PowerShell, the other shell that you're probably used to if you're using something like Windows. So we could maybe take this like gigantic document and just get the cover page of it. So let's start with that. So let me go ahead and point out the name of the file. And
so there's not a recipe for stuffing for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, unfortunately, I hate to break it to you, or I hate to be the bearer of bad news there, but let's just even make this a little bit of a shorter name for the sake of ease. So let's call it homes instead, and let me go ahead and copy this line and paste in the different file that I'm expecting, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to, I believe I called it homes, and I'm expecting that there's going to be you know, the file here above me, and I'm going to also go ahead and just make this the title page. And here I'm going to be doing the process of actually manipulating a PDF file, which is kind of like the name of the game why we're doing this, because you want to load things in memory and then make changes to them. So let's and for the sake of kind of argument, I guess, just to prove that this is a gigantic file, there are 1001 pages of this long cookbook of different PowerShell recipes.
Wow.
It's quite a lot. So my point is that maybe you want the first page. What you want to go ahead and do is, since we've already gone ahead and loaded the document here, we'll go ahead and have a little loop where we're going to go through the document and delete the last page until we have nothing but one page. And I guess we could do that with the last page as well. So we could kind of take the alternate route of let's say let's find out. It might be interesting. So if I wanted to do this with the last page, let's say I want to document processor document dot pages dot count is greater than 1. I want to go ahead and let's say delete, let's say the first page, and it is I again know this by trial and error that it's ordered or it's sorted and numbered and indexed by ordinal numbers. So the first page is page 1, not page 0. It's kind of interesting how those things happen, but there it is. So what I want to go ahead and do is, I don't want to call it the title page. I kind of actually want to call it the last page. So this is, let's go and call this the last page. And so it's going to take 1001 pages and give me the very last one. That's kind of the point. So I've got it saved, and now if I do my .NET run, hopefully it's pointing to the right file, and it's going to give me the last page of the file. Okay, what was the problem? Type or namespace definition. What's the problem? Or end of file expected. Let's see. This is usually because I am, this is the problem. Okay, so let's get rid of that. It's curly brace
What was the
problems.
problem?
The problem is when you are missing a curly brace, you get these weird, almost C++-esque error messages where they don't really mean anything, and that's kind of a big tell that it's a curly brace problem. So I missed a curly brace, and so I've gone ahead and in this folder I should have the last page of this, and the last page is the publisher's page talking about O'Reilly. So good books. Anyway, so what I want to go ahead and do is the reason why I play around with how many pages are in the document is I usually like to take a multi-page document and only take the first page of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here as well. So just for the sake of doing something to the document, why not? So in addition to signing it, we're going to go ahead and there we go. We're going to put that loop in. So again, it's going to be the cover page, not the last page. And I'm also going to go ahead and bring in my PFX file that I was talking about earlier. So I mentioned that I need to sign with my certificate, and the type of certificate is a long one. It's called an X509 certificate. So I'm going to have to be using this. Let me bring this in. I'm going to be using this type to handle this, called X509 certificates, and as you could probably guess, it's going to let me actually use X509 certificates. So X509 certificate 2, and I don't want to call it certificate 2, and I'll just go ahead and point it to my temporary X509 file, which was, I think, pfx underscore temp. So certificate 2, and always like using raw strings, maybe not for good reasons, but let's go ahead and point this to, I don't think I need this. For me, it's a strange file name I have to worry about, and it's going to be pointing to my PFX file, and again, the important thing is that I ran all those commands on the command line in one folder above this one, so I want to point to that correctly. And I also mentioned that I have a little weak password that I attached to my certificate, and it's going to be available here in plain text, and not nothing special. It's not really a password. It's just kind of like a minimal sort of password that's non-empty in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and also pass in my store flags as the last argument here. And this is basically standard Microsoft classes. So this is not at all related to the fact that we're using DevExpress to do some of this heavy lifting. Right now we're just dealing with the digital signature that's going to be attached with the certificate. And I also probably want there to be some sort of visual indication that I'm actually signing the document. And another place I actually went ahead and uploaded a version of my signature. So I have that file available to me now, and it's called creatively SIG. So actually, this is something that will never be in any repository, of course, because it's not something you at all want to divulge. But I'll go ahead and put it in my PDF signer. Why not? So let's go ahead and put it, and it's basically just a PNG file with my actual written signature. And hopefully it hasn't changed too much in the intervening years since I actually wrote that file.
When did you write the file?
This was like years ago. I think it was like 2014 or so.
Wow.
So yeah, sadly, I don't think I have that consistency. But let's also go ahead and I believe I am going to, at this point, pull in the file I need, which is that signature. So it's going to be a byte array. So my image is going to be this, I think I might need system IO to do this. Let's go undo, change Word file. And let me also bring in my using statements. I'm just going to bring them all in at once because it's kind of haphazard to add them later. I'd rather just take care of it in one fell swoop. So let's go ahead and hopefully do that. So yes. We don't, I believe, have a video of that. That's something that
Areg, can you say what the question is? Because
yeah, so the question was whether or not we have an example in which you're using Blazor and reporting, our reporting engine, and you're connecting to a RESTful web service to actually pull in data. So if we get so far and explain a little bit more about this workflow, we have to use a controller in our particular example. So we are going to be using web services, even in this case, with Blazor. It's only one extra step to also have reporting as well, and you could go down that route if you'd like. So it's not going to be covered in this example, but it's not going to be too hard to include that as well. In fact, I think reporting is kind of like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich that fits really well with Office File API, because you might generate a PDF in the extra reports engine, and then you want to sign it. And this is that second step, basically. But again, I just said that I added these using statements, and I actually want to, after I've added them, I want to pull in my actual file. So let's go ahead and do that as well. So I believe I do. Okay. Let's go ahead and read the file that we have, and if I'm not mistaken, it's just the SIG I added here already. And I want to also point this to, let's say, page number. So I'm going to call this probably the first page, because I've already gone ahead and deleted every page other than the first, because I wanted to kind of have a single page document. And I also can do some interesting things in that I can have an angle that I can offset this by. You don't have to do that, but I mean, for the sake of having something interesting to show, I can maybe, I think 45 degrees is too much. Maybe I'll go ahead and put this like at a slight angle, like so 15 degrees. And I actually happen to know where I need this signature on this particular document, and this is kind of me cheating with hard-coded numbers. But basically, the place that I'm going to be pointing this, the rectangle where in which we're going to be drawing our signature. If I just to remind you what file we're talking about, we originally we were talking about this authorization document, and this location has a particular coordinate I want to actually write the signature onto. So the visual signature is going to appear in some bound, and it's going to appear in some top left corner, and it's going to have a width and a height. And the idea is that actually the way I determine this is I kind of try different values, and I stick with one that I like for the particular document. We will eventually, I believe, have a better indication of that once we build a full UI around this idea. But for now, basically, you have to just go by trial and error, and these particular values, which is the left corner of my document. So basically, the left corner of my signature is going to be here, and it's left 70 PDF point units, so this way, and 550 up, and it's counting from, I believe, the bottom of the document, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's this is dependent on my file size. So I know that my width is approximately 100, and my height is approximately 160, and I have to do a little math calculation to go from the angle I have to some radian measure of my angle. And if I enable word wrap so you can see everything, this is what we have. And I actually do need to, at this point, do the signing as well. So let's go ahead and take care of that as well. So actually, without having some additional options pass into our saved document, we won't have the signature. So again, if I go back into, I believe I had it open, but it's fine. Yeah, there we go. So if I go and look at my save document options I have, this PDF save options is what I want to pass, and I'm not using stream in this case. In our later example, we will be using stream, but right now I want to be using this particular overload, and I want to be passing in some PDF save options of my own. So particularly, we want to pass in a signature. So once we basically get the signature, we're going to go ahead and use it as well. So at this point, like I said, we've already talked about the bounds of the PDF signature. That we have the certificate. So we have the two pieces, the one for visually displaying the signature, the other one for kind of digitally authenticating the signature. So I'll go ahead and basically point in or bring in this thing that we actually need to attach, which is the PDF signature. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pass in the remainder options on this particular signature, because I do know that I do want to give this a location, let's say USA. I want to actually pass in some more information as well. I want to pass in maybe a contact info on the signature. These are all going to be visible in something like Adobe Reader, so that's why I'm providing them. So they're not visually on the PDF, but they're probably things that you care about if you're looking at this in some external PDF client. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm also, like I said, going to want to pass in the second argument, which is I want the PDF save options to actually add my 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 signature as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well, and it's the signature. The signature is going to be the one that I've gone ahead and configured correctly. There we go, and this should save correctly, and I believe I just want to make sure that I have included the slight. Maybe I should make the tilt a little bit less, because I think 15 degrees is kind of extreme. So let's go ahead and make this 10 degrees. And this hopefully should be everything you need to actually sign, and it's going to look a little bit funky because it's going to, you know, sign the right place, but it's going to, and before I forget, this file is no longer called homes, it's called authorization, I believe. So authorization is what I call this document. So authorization is a letter. The letter is going to get signed. We're going to get rid of the successive pages. If this was a multi-page document, I only care about the first page and sign the first one. I had this PFX file that I'm going to be using, and my lame password that I just was using, so I have a non-empty string. And then I have my visual signature, which is kind of the stamp it's going to put in that place, and I'm going to be tilting it slightly. I think that should be everything I need. So let's go ahead and run. And it says on line 18 there's a problem. So it's a small problem. So let's go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at what it's complaining about. Line 18. Okay, so this is a stupid issue. So I had a duplicate of a symbol. That's kind of why I was doing that. All right, so, and now it's complaining about something else. And the reasons that I have two names here for my image that I have in memory, I actually should be calling this image. And with that, I believe that should probably be the last one. Page number is the same sort of thing. So let's go ahead and have the right variable names, and it says it could not find this file because I'm probably pointed at the wrong place for my PFX temp. Where is my PFX temp? So let's take a look at where this error was happening in our case. So it is mentioning that it is going to be taking place as an issue. Could not find file. I'm pretty sure that this is some sort of oh, that's why. Originally I had a typo, so I have to maintain the same style of typing this file name in. Now this should be fixed. So yeah, these little one-off transpositions of letters, so that actually did run correctly. And now I should, if I go into my PDF signer, I should have this thing, authorization, and let me give it a meaningful name. Let me call it authorization signed. So this runs correctly. I just wanted to have a meaningful name since we're signing it. Okay, so authorization signed. And there we go. This is 10 degrees and where I expect it to be. So this is kind of like the bare bones workflow of kind of what we hope to do in Blazor. I actually do have all the steps explicated in Blazor as well. But the point was, how do you actually go about signing an Office File API to begin with? So it's a server-side process, and we're going to do this in a controller in our Blazor app. We didn't get very far, unfortunately, to that point, but this is kind of like the main ingredient. So I guess, do we want to give a sneak preview of that? I can do that as well. I don't know if we have time for that.
Yeah, sneak preview sounds good. But we are at about an hour. Just
okay. All right, great. So I actually went ahead and built kind of what I was describing, which is the solution that basically integrates a full API controller. So it's basically taking it's taken from one of our examples where you're actually uploading image files. But the point is that I have it pointed now at a folder I call uploads, and I'm using the same structure of the PFX file and the SIG file we were talking about. I'm going to be signing anything that we actually upload. So um, the gist of it is that you're going to be pointing to something in the with the upload control. So if I want, I can go ahead and take this large document, homes, and drop it here, and it's going to be uploading it. And you see that the progress is happening. It's going ahead and uploading our 1001 pages. And now we're going to go ahead and download the signed book. And I have this example set up so that it signs the very last page. So, and I'm going to my strange file name conventions. So I'm going to rename this, and I'll open this. And so the last page of our book should be signed. And on top of that, I also went one extra step. I also added this little watermark saying when it was processed as well. So this is actually what we will build up towards. I think we'll have a better UI than these two components that I added. But the point is that we can easily integrate this into Blazor. The hard part was actually what we just covered, which is getting all of the certificates and the certificate signing requests to work correctly and using OpenSSL, because actually that was kind of a mystery to me too until I actually went really deep into that rabbit hole and figured it out for myself. But yeah, in this way, you never really have to rely on DocuSign or Dropbox's signing service or any of those things. You can just do this on your own. If you're a universal subscriber or if you have Office File API, you can just do this today. So this is kind of like in your sandbox, and you don't have to really touch someone else. Office File API is actually available standalone, or you can purchase it with Universal. So if you go to devexpress.com/buy, you'll see Office File API is a little chiclet here. The chiclet is down here. So you could buy it separate. It's the same cost as reporting, made the same workflows. Or what we could do is you could purchase a universal, or you can go ahead and upgrade to a universal. So if you go ahead and decide to go to your upgrades, you'll see your available upgrades. So you can upgrade to universal and get access to Office File API today. And like I said, this is kind of the workflow for getting the bare bones done in Office File API without really touching UI at all. So this could have been done on the server, and then once you get the PDF file, you could have attached it to an email and sent it out via your email SMTP process. You don't necessarily need to be using a front-end framework at all. But the example I was showing, which is the completely built version of this, I not only am using Blazor, I'm using the upload control to actually manage the process of uploading the PDF and then going ahead and signing it as well. So, but we'll go over the steps to build this in a different
next time.
Yeah, in a different session, because it's actually quite involved.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Areg.
Sure.
So next week we'll be back, and you can see what Areg builds next. Also next week, next Tuesday, .NET Comp begins, and we are a sponsor of .NET Comp. It's been a virtual event for 13 years, and it's going Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a code party on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time that we also sponsor. And next Tuesday's 10 a.m. Twitch stream will be Don and Carl Franklin discussing what they hear from the Blazor presentation at 9 a.m. next Tuesday. They will be on at 10 a.m. discussing what the new stuff is with Blazor. So that should be pretty cool. All right. So that's it for this one. We will see you all next week.